Hi, everyone. So I'm Peter Huff, and I'm a graduating senior from St. Paul's. And I'm here speaking to you today because the youth ministry asked me to reach out to speak this Sunday and give an experience of what it was like to grow up in this church. And so I was thinking about this over a period of many weeks, and I was wondering, well, how can I, as an 18-year-old, impart something really meaningful to the congregation here? How can I deliver something that's unique and special? And so today I want to give you a perspective from a young people's perspective, from a teenager's perspective, and from a youth perspective that I believe is really important about the world we live in right now. And that is about ritual, and my experience with ritual in St. Paul's, and ritual in society as a whole. And I hope through this journey together and through this exploration, we can find out really what that means today and how it's impacted me through St. Paul's. So I could talk about something easy about St. Paul's. There are a million things that you could describe about this church when it comes to ritual. You could talk about the fantastic art, or the sermons, or the beautiful, deep, moving music. It's just fantastic, and the depth of the stuff goes to such a level that you feel a real reverence. And so there are these times and traditions that I've grown up in, whether that's these things at St. Paul's or things outside of St. Paul's, like the candlelight walk in Churchill, and all of these things in Richmond that have really cemented this idea of the church as a center and a space for these beautiful, moving events. But the rituals for me, the ones that really matter, are the ones that are the most ancient, the ones that I can remember even as a young child really being powerfully affected by, especially at St. Paul's. There's a certain mystique as a young child, and you can recall back to your own time when you were 5 or 10 years old, about going up and receiving communion and taking the wafer or the bread and taking the wine and kneeling down or having holy water sprinkled on your forehead, or any number of these really tender and deep actions. There's a certain sense of this world that is so deep beneath you, so immense and so ancient that you can barely comprehend it. When I was young, it was the experience of standing on pillars of traditions so unimaginably infinite and ancient that words would absolutely fail to describe the emotion that I was feeling. I can remember when I was 5-year-old, I was sitting in the front pew at St. Paul's during one service, and I remember that the choir was chanting, I believe, it was something along the lines of Ad Patrum, one of the ecclesiastical hymns. And I can remember that there was this certain moment of what we call tonal dissonance, where two notes were stacked right against each other, and it was just powerful, right through the source. And I can remember that, and I can remember just how powerful that precise moment in time, that radiant moment of ritual was. And I can remember, even though I was, I think, not even 7 years old, that there was something really deep and really special and really beyond ancient about that moment in time. And I think about these things because they enliven my soul. And I think about these things because I hold them as deep as they are in history as they are within myself. So, again, you have these rituals, like the Nicene Creed and the Lord's Prayer. I remember almost when I repeat these things, and I still feel this way today, as I did when I was a kid, that you are possessed by some kind of a ghost. Something comes through you, not from you. It's something so unascribably old and almost like a leviathan is sleeping beneath the surface of your consciousness. And these things come through you and they prove your humanity, and you say to yourself, my God, what an amazing thing it is to be human. So the words rolling off my tongue came not from me, but through me. And again, this experience, even saying the Nicene Creed and the hymns and the Lord's Prayer as a child, even though I have the contextual knowledge of what languages these come from now and how they evolved, it still feels almost like a magical incantation, some kind of rite or some kind of special mode in which you transfer into another world beyond our own. And I know that ghostly feeling is in each and every one of you, because when we recite these things, we're not saying them necessarily out of rote or even, for many people, belief. But we're saying them for the pure power and magic of the words themselves, which prove to us again that we are human and that we are alive. So, outside of St. Paul's and Christianity in general, the ritual and the symbolism of Christianity that's been imparted to me through the church has been so powerful in my own life that it fails to describe for words. I mean, even my Methodist grandmother's depiction of hell and the untimes, the revelations which she used to rant to me about when I was a child, the 7 seals, the opening of the infinite realm, yada, 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 4 horsemen, running into the antique world, et cetera, et cetera. Big scythes, gaping pits of fire. All of these things, for me, they filled me with both a sense of electric terror and horrible wonder. I was fascinated by these things. And I just remember as a child how alive it made my imagination, how alive even, I would space off during the sermons at St. Paul's and I would just stare at the beautiful stained glass and the beautiful potent imagery that's just lying everywhere. And when I go to write or when I go to think at my deepest moments, and I know this may be a similar experience for all of you as well, I reach into that deep, unconscious treasure trove of all of these images that have been imparted through this very space. That's something that you cannot get outside of a space like this. And so that power, that unimaginable feeling, that ghostly quality, that beautiful treasure trove, many people, to me, have challenged that. And this is where it gets difficult. So I want to tell you a story. And this story is the confrontation of these beautiful emotions that I hold, these beautiful secrets that I hold, that have been imparted through this space, and society as a whole right now in the world, young people especially. I was walking recently, a couple months ago, with my friends through the VMFA, and we were walking through the Byzantine art section, as one does on a Saturday afternoon, and we were saying, well, the concept of Christianity comes up because there are crosses everywhere and there are eyes of beady little Jesuses staring down into your soul. And so we say, my friend Cass asked me, Peter, why do you care about this stuff so much? Why do you care about Christianity so much? I mean, me being atheist, or all of my friends are atheist in this room, I'm the only semi-non-atheist. We're still figuring it out. They asked me, why do you care about these things so much? And I tell them, well, the music, and the images, and these things, these deep truths to me. And they look at me as though I've, standing on the top of my head, and they say, but why does that matter? Christianity has inflicted so much pain, especially on us personally, psychologically. We grew up in churches where it was used as almost a blunt weapon of discipline. And it's been used that way throughout history. So why are you so adamant in the fact that you won't renounce it or won't truly, fully give it up and accept that as a society we need to move beyond Christianity? And I kind of let the space ring out in silence for a little bit. And that question really sat with me. Why does the church matter to me? And why can't the church, a place like St. Paul's, be replaced by something new or something different? Because these things do have truth to them. They have been inflicted with a great deal of pain, a great deal of trauma, psychologically, through the use of Christianity and their own personal experiences. And I won't deny that, but I also can't deny the emotions and truths that I've felt and I've just shared with you. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung once proclaimed that, man is in need of a symbolic life, badly in need. And this, for me, is the answer to why we can't move beyond the church. For more than 2 millennia, the church has fulfilled the function as the place of societal ritual and symbolism, and these things hold the consciousness of a society together and preserve the memory of its ancient past. Again, this space and the rituals we do within it prove that we're human and prove to our ancestors and to those who came before us that we are still alive as a human being, and we still are filled with love and wonder for being a human. And so when this question of why can't the church be replaced with something else, the absence of a society of ritual is a profoundly sick one. When we as a society can't preserve the link and can't tap into the flow of these ancient things, these ancient words, we, in a psychological sense, as Jung says, begin to implode internally, both in the psychological and in the soul. We literally feel sick, ill, when we lack symbolism. We need it. We need these objects which we can refer to as a place to gauge how we are in the moment as a human being. And in America today, especially as a young person, the decline of the church, which is an unfortunate thing, but it is a movement that is happening, has accompanied with it a correlate cause of increasing psychological breakdown. Young people today are, in a word, lost. And that's not because of absence of God or a need for repurification in this Puritan sense. It's the absence of space for quiet or for music or for being together in spirituality. And because we lack these things, many of the people that I know that are Christian and attend different denominations than St. Paul's, many of them remedy themselves in ways that are superficial. As a generation, we devolve into putting everything out into the external instead of holding some internal truths. Things are related through the digital and not through the human. So in this modern America, where we lack this psychological symbolism and spaces of ritual ever so more, this fast food of the soul, you might want to call it, it's nowhere more present. Emotions and symbols are detached today for young people, floating in time from billboard to billboard, kind of like a resounding echo of something that's almost quite perceptible. We know the image, we know the symbolism in our deepest psychological heart, but we can't ever really identify with it. And so these things float detached from space and time in this kind of forever limbo between the digital and the real, and we kind of lose our sense of who we are as human beings. Fittingly, to half remedy this psychological malaise, some churches and denominations have sought to remedy this disease by adapting to this brave new world. It's not uncommon to see megachurches where the pastor is akin to a superhero, parading around on a stage larger than a high school football field, always preaching about eternal damnation. Preachers now have private jets and picturesque tropical retreats, and churches now have Starbucks and ATMs, as though Christ had suddenly had secondhand regret about flipping all those tables over in the high temple. These things are a sign of a society that is profoundly sick. We should not have Starbucks and ATMs. We should not have remnants of the material world, the world of commodities and the world of exchange inside a space which is supposed to be sacred and for silence and contemplation, the deepest troweling of the soul. When we allow these things to mix together, when we allow the idea of the sacred space of ritual to break down, we are allowing ourselves as a society to slip away from who we are as humans, and we're allowing ourselves on a very dangerous slope towards debasement and eventually psychological collapse. Last week, we heard about the amount of mass shootings in America. There were over 60 in Virginia alone, and many of these are committed by distraught young people. It is a situation almost unlike any we've ever faced as a nation, and I would prescribe one main element of this horrible, horrible tragedy that just keeps on going and unfolding day by day as a lack of ritual. Again, psychologically, the youngest generations, your grandkids or children, have a detachment from community. The breakdown of the church as a social space and as a place of ritual has left a profound and violent mark on modern America. The philosopher Byung-Chul Chan, in his newest book, The Disappearance of Ritual, which talks about this same psychological malaise, reaffirms this point. Our modern world, especially in America, is in an age of haste with and this is a big word, but deal with me here, cinematographic succession of point-like presences. It has no access to beauty or truth. Only in lingering contemplation, even an aesthetic restraint, do things unveil their beauty or their fragrant essence, their phosphorescent glow. Emily Dickinson also talks about this phosphorescent glow in her poems on the church. It's this deepest, most eternal human light that comes from being in silence and quiet in a space with other people. This is what I think my experience is, and this is what my answer was to my friends at the VMFA. Without the church, I think I would be dramatically poorer in spirit and soul. I don't think I would really be in touch with who I am fully as a human. Though we spend our entire lives figuring out what it means to be here and to do this thing called living, the church helps us in the sense that we know other people are going through it, and we are all there in one singular moment together in that silence. In closing, we should sustain this space and the rituals within not only for the sake of religion, but for our love of each other as human beings. We can't bear a community or a city or a nation without a center, and in ritual, we prove to the millennia that we are still human and that we are still alive and full of that infinite light. Thank you.